Oh, well, Yanni, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here? Is this supposed to be some kind of live show or what? What's going on?
Yeah, well, this is a live show. So the Soul Stream has officially begun. Mortal Kombat Online and the Realm Kast live show, bringing you everything from Mortal Kombat related news to guests. I'm your host, the Mortal Kombat FANTiM, and with me as always is my co-host, our lore master Yanni. Welcome, Yanni.
Thank you, FANTiM. And I think you're going to have to bring up one of our guest videos in a second. We would like to introduce our first ever Soulstream guest and our returning friend, David L. Craddock, author of Long Live Mortal Kombat. Welcome back, David.
Ah, you weak, pathetic fools. I've come to your soul stream. How about that? How about that? Okay. I've got
that was perfect. That was a great intro.
Oh, okay. Thanks for coming back, guys. I've been looking forward to this. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you back. Yeah, this is awesome. I mean, this is the first ever Soul Stream. So for those of us joining us for the first time, we are the Realm Kast from Mortal Kombat Online, and this is our first ever live show. So here we like to bring upcoming news, different events, contests, and special guests like David here. So David, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Just in case any listeners are on a platform where you're not able to chat, you can join the live chat by visiting any of our YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or simply just going to realmkast.com and picking one of the above. I guess we should start off. This is basically a sort of evolution of our Toasty Tuesdays mixed with the Realm Kast. So what we tend to do is really discuss the news and discuss a specific topic with our guest. In this case, David, your book. So, FANTiM, should we go into the sort of schedule that we have planned for this episode?
Yeah, before we do that, I just, kind of remind everybody, if you want to join us, we do have live chat going on. And, you can leave us a message and your chats will show up here on our, with us, and we can talk to you directly. You can kind of contribute to the show yourself. You can do that by visiting YouTube, Facebook, or just going to realmkast.com, and that'll take you to Mortal Kombat Online, where you can kind of participate with us. So,
emphasizing that double time.
So Yanni, go ahead and give us a plan. What are we discussing today?
All right. Well, we've got the 30th MK anniversary coming up, which we should possibly discuss. MK Legends Snowblind, also known as Coming Storm, depending on where it's been localized. Certain Easter eggs in other forms of gaming media. Some links that FANTiM would like to specifically mention, which I guess would be better to bring up when the time comes. And of course, Long Live Mortal Kombat, David, your book, as well as feature some artists who have actually done some amazing art that we would like to mention, to give them some shout outs and show off their work, as well as, of course, for many of the people joining us today, I'm pretty sure you're interested in finding out whether or not you won the Diamond Select Toys Raiden giveaway, and we will let you know towards at some point during the episode, actually. Yep. FANTiM?
Yeah, sounds good. Let's do it. Okay, so first up, let's see, what do we got here? You said Mortal Kombat's 30th anniversary. There's been a lot of no talk about this.
Yeah, well, okay, to be fair, Ed Boon has actually been sharing some MK content for the anniversary. He's been giving us some cool insights into the making of Mortal Kombat and everything. But this just leads me to believe that we're not actually getting anything aside from Legends, which I think is good enough, in my opinion, personally. But what have you seen from Ed Boon?
Okay, so from Ed himself, I think I'll go into that in a second. Their only real 30th anniversary thing that I've seen come out has been the anniversary bundle pack, which is being showcased in the UK. I don't know how many people have seen that. I'm going to pull up the actual image here, but what about you guys? Have you seen that yet?
I think I've seen that. It's like a Mortal Kombat. Is that the Mortal Kombat 11 like super pack? It's available in several editions, or is that a different thing? Oh, this looks like a different thing.
That's the one. Actually. Oh, isn't it?
Oh,
it sounded like that. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is it. It's being sold right now in Amazon UK or pre-orders, but yeah, it's a bundle pack, so you can get the movie the newest Mortal Kombat movie, along with either the PlayStation 5 or Xbox version of Mortal Kombat 11, in case you didn't have it already.
Let's face it, like anyone who's watching this stream has probably bought those things multiple times already.
Exactly
Yeah.
what I keep
You know
hearing
what
in
I
the
mean?
community. Yeah.
A couple comments from Bran. First of all, we were talking earlier of giving artists a shout out, and Bran mentioned that the graphics design on this stream is awesome. I was complimenting you guys on this before we went live, and I have to say, Bran's totally right. I love the animated background. I feel like we're just hanging out in Shang Tsung's Soul Chamber, which, you know, I wouldn't think is a place where people just hang out. But maybe, you know, Shang Tsung's going to do what he's going to do. But I love it. I think it looks great. He also asked what I'd like to see for a 30th anniversary. I'm a very simple man with very simple needs, Bran. I would like, there are a couple of things. One, I think that the MK community, however they feel about the 3D era, is more or less in agreement that era is kind of underappreciated. I would love to see, if nothing else, a re-release of either Deadly Alliance or Deception, which is my personal favorite from that era. Or Armageddon, which is actually my least favorite, but like if you want the Gangs All Here edition, that's kind of the game that you go to. It might be cool to like bundle Deception, Armageddon together. That way you get like all their mini games and story modes and stuff. But I would also like, this has kind of been my soapbox for a while, I would love a true arcade collection. The one we got like 11 years ago only had 3 games. I know speaking of underappreciated, I know we love to just kind of gloss over vanilla MK3, but it was an arcade game, and for the sake of completeness, I've loved it in the collection. And also, you know, my heart beats for Mortal Kombat 4. It's still my favorite of the arcade era. I'm a vocal minority, but like it was an arcade game. So if we're going to release an arcade collection, let's make it complete with a K. Let's go all in.
You know, that's interesting you said that, because technically Arcade 1-Up's newest cabinet, the Mortal Kombat 2 30th anniversary, is, you know, an arcade collection, and it's their 30th anniversary collection. But like you said, I mean, everybody's upset because Mortal Kombat 4 is not in it.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's the arcade, that's the Midway era that everybody still wants, and it was the 4 is the last one that actually came out on the arcades. So
4 is in this weird place, much like Mortal Kombat 8, where it's sort of a bridge between eras. Like 4 was an arcade game and the entry point to the 3D era.
Yeah.
And MK8 was a return to the 2D and the more cinematic story-driven games with the reboots to come. So, you know, I guess I could overlook it being not included in the arcade collection, but I really like it there. And I feel like maybe like a lot of early 3D era games, it, you know, that was when gaming was kind of going through puberty. Not all classic franchises made that transition to 3D well, but I thought Mortal Kombat did. I loved the atmosphere. I kind of loved the back to basics approach, focusing on fatalities, no other alities. I really liked the characters. I thought the combo system was really fun and flexible. Too Long didn't listen. I just want Mortal Kombat 4 in an arcade. That's what I really want.
I'm actually so happy to hear somebody saying like positive things about Mortal Kombat 4, because I really do feel like it's that game in the franchise, aside from Special Forces, which gets a bit of hate, which I don't think it deserves. Mortal Kombat 4 was a great time in my life too. I really, really enjoyed that game. That was such a fun game. You had a cool roster. It showed them sort of taking risks already at that point in time, even though we had the sort of risk in Mortal Kombat 3, of course, you know, dropping certain fan favorites. But
Right.
MK4, I don't know, it was this big risk. As you said, it was a leap into the 3D realm, and at the same time, was an arcade game. And I've actually seen arguments online as to whether or not it counts as an arcade game or a 3D game, and that's the best part. It's actually both.
Why not both.gif,
yeah,
right? Like it
exactly.
is both. Yeah.
But I think Kane B makes a very, very good point, and I totally agree. I want Motor Combat back too.
Yeah, I love Motor Kombat. And then Brand chiming in again, I feel like if you are going to release Mortal Kombat 4, just release what should really have been called Ultimate MK4 and give us MK Gold. Like, I know that game is really glitchy and like broken, but I don't feel like every fighting game needs to be ultra polished for competitive play. Like Mortal Kombat 4 was just a really fun game, and yeah, I love that version. I would definitely take that version. I bought a Dreamcast for that game back on $9,999.
Worth it, totally worth it. But also the endings, as Smoke 412 has mentioned, were definitely like, I know the dialogue was cheesy, the voice acting may not have been the best, but honestly, I absolutely love those cinematics. I still go back and watch them, especially as Smoke 412 said, "No, Jared, this isn't a brutality. This is a fatality." Dun, dun, dun. Like, come on, that's just so
Yeah.
good, so bad
And
it's good.
ever since 1997, I've done the
Jared, yes,
and I love that. I unironically love that laugh. I also think, like, yes, the the dialogue, the voice acting was cheesy, but like a lot of developers at the time, Midway wasn't like cutting big checks for Hollywood talent. That era was still many, many years away when we were bringing in big names to do VO for games, right? So they were learning, all developers. I write about this in Long Live Mortal Kombat, but like everybody, home, arcade, the entire industry was going through growing pains learning 3D. They were basically reinventing the wheel with polygons, and that wasn't an easy thing to do. And I think that even if you find the MK4 endings cheesy, the lore was great. That's what people really care about.
Yes.
Right?
And
so like the lore was super interesting there.
You know, there's been a lot of talks recently about the what's coming up in leaks for the 30th anniversary and stuff like that. I think even somebody in our chat, I think it was Survived Combatants, left a message too, saying that there's the one that we showcased earlier, and there's also the 4 editions, and I think that's in relation to some of these other leaks that have come out. And the thing is, Ed Boon actually addressed that himself recently, and it makes me kind of wonder what is really going on. So in reply to Sheriff, he says there was no real leak. There have been several fake ones. So, there's a lot of chatter right now about what's coming up for the 30th anniversary, and is there anything?
So first of all, I feel like, knowing Ed Boon's history, as we all do, I feel like he probably loves those leaks, because like that happened back in the day. Only it was like GamePro and EGM publishing them, right? But also, I'm not an apologist for big companies, far from it. But the important thing to remember here is, as much as I'm sure Ed and the rest of the NetherRealm team would love to tease a big reveal right up until the moment of that reveal, they are owned by a monolithic and public corporation, and they cannot just announce anything. They can't do that. Warner Brothers has to sign off on that. So again, not an apologist, but like, why isn't Ed saying anything? Well, he literally can't. He's not allowed. So when he's allowed, obviously he will want to like open the floodgates.
Well, that's actually one thing. And firstly, I'd like to say Nick the Greek, Yasu Tikanis. But one thing that I actually find kind of funny to think about is that, knowing Ed, he may have said that, and some people could still be saying things like, well, maybe not all the leaks are completely correct, but maybe part of it's correct or something, like there's still a substantial amount missing from what there could be. But I don't know. I feel like so far, nothing actually seems to be on the money. And that's pretty much what he seems to have addressed.
Yeah. There was another tweet too by him, where he got this comment here from Tyler Denays. Speaking of the 30th anniversary, are expecting something big or soon, or big soon, or no? And I mean, very bluntly, soon. No. So that's heartbreaking to hear.
Was that back in May? Like that, maybe that's changed. Maybe they are waiting for that weekend in October when Mortal Kombat actually turns 30. I think, and again, not making excuses here, but as an MK fan, the speculation has always been what I've loved most about this series.
Yeah,
just talking possibilities.
Yeah, that's totally true. Like, that's one of the things that, I mean, we're doing that right now, literally, it's so much fun. And in the good old days, we were just doing that on forums. Nobody had any idea what was going on. We didn't have data mining. We didn't have as much of a social network as we do now. So really all we could do was find the tiniest little signs that we could and try and figure out whether or not they were actually giving us glimpses into what was coming or not. But based on this whole 30th anniversary Ultimate Bundle, as you mentioned already, David, like, anybody who is interested in this most likely has all this stuff already. The only reason I could see to even get it is for the steelbook, or for collectors possibly. But even then, I feel like MK11 really dropped the ball in terms of bringing the movie to the game. Like, why didn't we get any Mortal Kombat movie skins, for example, in the game or something? I know there was a lot of backlash even towards Cole as a character, but even then they could have pushed him into the game and potentially had people actually get interested. You know, there are certain characters many people don't like, just for any whatever reason. Then when they give them a go and they actually play them, they actually realize, hey, you know what, this is actually pretty fun. And that's kind of how some people start to enjoy a character.
So you're saying Cole Young could have been like the next best thing for Mortal Kombat 11 or something?
The hero nobody ever would have expected. Could have swooped in.
It's all about the birthmark, and he was born with it.
Oh, gosh.
It's true. It is a birthmark. It is a mark of birth.
But one thing that we have been saying is that technically Snowblind, and I think we should move into this, really, in my opinion, is a sort of anniversary kind of thing anyway. I'm just so happy to be receiving any form of Mortal Kombat content like this. I always felt that Mortal Kombat would be better animated than live action. I'm not saying I don't want live action. In fact, I would prefer series and stuff. But the fact that we've got Legends as animated movies is pretty damn awesome, in my opinion. And we seem to have some. I mean, it depends how well versed everybody is on, you know, the goings of Snowblind, what's happening. We recently had Jeremy Adams, the writer, on the previous episode of the Realm Kast, and he gave us some really cool information. Didn't spoil anything, of course. Very professional, although we did try and poke him as much as we could to give us some info. But he's really given us some cool insight into what Snowblind has become, as well as really, you know, when we can expect it. And I think we have an official release date now, FANTiM.
Yeah, we do. Well, at least IMDb and those pages have an official release date, which I don't have that pulled up, but I could tell you in just a second.
I'm pretty sure it's mid October sometime, right around the anniversary, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's two release dates. There's the digital one, and then there's also the physical release. So
yes, that's true. Yeah, and the physical release is supposed to be 4K, I think it is, right?
Yep. Well, I think they both are, but the digital is going to be on October 9th, and then the Ultra HD 4K Blu-ray is October 11th.
Okay. Well,
Nice.
One cool thing that one of my friends has actually shared with us, at Jacob Allah, sent over what seems to be, I don't think I've seen it before, a new image of Sub-Zero in Snowblind. And this could potentially be a flashback, as we kind of speculated, FANTiM, when we watched the trailer. It does look like Sub-Zero is the younger version of Sub-Zero. He doesn't look like old man Kuai Liang anymore. But one very interesting thing that I noticed from the Rotten Tomatoes page is, contrary to that silly comment I made with Jeremy Adams about making a movie without Scorpion, Patrick Seitz seems to be confirmed as a cast member for Snowblind.
Oh, so yeah, we might actually be getting Scorpion in Snowblind, which you should probably feel guilty now for praising Jeremy while he's on the show and telling him.
Sorry, Jeremy, it was a joke.
So where did you see that at? You said IMDb?
That was on Rotten Tomatoes, I think.
Okay.
As I said, at Jacob Allah sent over the link to me, said there was a new image of Sub-Zero. And going through that, I saw a couple of confirmed characters who we don't actually, as far as I remember, and I'm pretty sure I know the lore back to front by this point, we've never heard of them in Mortal Kombat lore. So it could just be extra characters who will come up and most likely get shredded. But it's cool to see that, you know, maybe there's more to it that we don't know about. And that is actually something that Jeremy straight up told us, that there are characters in the movie who have not been shown in the trailer so far. So that's pretty cool to know.
Was anybody else listed on Rotten Tomatoes?
Nobody that we would know from the actual games.
Okay.
But I'm still happy, and Smoke412 is also mentioning this. I'm so happy about No Face. I could not stop praising Jeremy for this. I was just like, No Face? Really?
Well,
and welcome, Walter.
Yeah, so yeah, welcome everybody who's joining our chat right now. If you want to participate too, jump onto YouTube or jump onto Twitch and message us there, and we can interact with you and kind of talk about the different comments you're leaving us. This is a live show, also on Facebook too, on the Mortal Kombat meme realm. So feel free to join us and jump in the conversations with us.
Survived Combatants saying what we kind of echoing what we were talking about earlier, where he hopes for 3D era characters not being cannon fodder, which did kind of happen to a degree in Mortal Kombat 2021. They're his favorite. They're their favorite era characters, and yeah, there are some really cool characters that have kind of just faded away since that era that I'd love to see back in any media, preferably games. But if they make cameos in Snowblind and other movies, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and then Kane B's comment also too, asking if we think we'll see Takeda.
No, I do not. Kenshi seems to be young in Snowblind. In fact, much younger than Sub-Zero, surprisingly. So unless he's had a kid very, very young, or maybe he goes through a very heavy aging process, and we have a time skip sort of, I don't see that being the case for Takeda.
Yeah, same here. It's too young, but I think
famous last words. We could be completely wrong.
Oh, I know.
Right.
You're praising Scorpion being gone, and now look
exactly right.
But no, I think Kenshi might have some of the characteristics of Takeda though, which would be cool to see. Like since we're seeing a younger Kenshi, we might see that more headstrong version of him. I think that's probably going to be a plot point. He's got to grow in some way. So,
yeah, I don't see combat kids coming in. Although, as mentioned, Kano is really a lot older. Sub-Zero's a lot older. For all we know, we'll see the special forces if Kano's involved in the Black Dragon, right? So we could see older Sonya. If that's the case, we could see Cassie for all we know. I mean,
yeah.
At this point, I have no idea. I don't think so, but I would be happy to see Jackie if it meant that she got fatality'd immediately.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, that's something I didn't consider, that the presence of the older characters means not only will kind of the combat kids show up, but maybe the combat grandkids. Like, who knows? Who knows what they want, what doors, what portals they want to open here. Make Johnny Cage and Sonya grandparents. Do it, you cowards. I think I'm really looking forward to seeing
Cassie and No Face's kid, right?
Yeah, that's it. Give us half face, two face. No, that's the crossover. That's another DC MK crossover right there.
Yeah, Movado would be very cool. I mean, Survived and Smoke have both mentioned Movado. Movado would be awesome. We've had Cabal actually show up in the trailer, so it would be very interesting to see if we get any Red Dragon. That would be pretty cool. I don't see it happening now, but at the same time, the fact that Tremor is in it and he has sort of an agenda against Kano at some point in the games could actually be a sort of in for, maybe, I don't know, I could see him sort of spinning the lore a bit to maybe bring in the Red Dragon and maybe even have Tremor working with them or something. I don't know. This is definitely me just crazy speculating with literally no backing to what I'm saying at all. But yeah,
at this point, I mean, Red Dragon and the Black Dragon are kind of mixed together, aren't they, with this plot?
Sort of. How so? How would you?
I don't know. Wasn't Cobra? Was he part of the Black Dragon?
Originally? No, he was part of Black Dragon. Yeah, sorry, I thought you said Red.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know then. Maybe not. Maybe I'm getting things mixed up. The dragons, the double dragons, they kind of throw me off.
It could just be like just the fact that Cabal's in and Kano's getting older. Something could happen to Cabal, lead into the Red Dragon. But at the same time, Jeremy did mention to us that this is a standalone story. It's supposed to close itself off, which is nice to hear, actually. It's good to know that we don't have to look forward to a sequel to wonder what's going on next with this exact story. We can just say, hey, great, who's the next character? And that's something I really love about the Legends universe, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. Also, Nick the Greek jumping in with, I guess this will be a non-Shaolin Monks MK animated film. I never thought of the possibility of Shaolin Monks returning as a movie, animated or otherwise, but that would actually be really, really cool. It'd be a really fun way to explore a lot of the lore from, I guess that's, original MK canon, but they could certainly adapt it to fit in the reboot canon if they wanted to. But yeah, that's a really cool idea. I love that.
I'd just like to see Shaolin Monks return full stop in any form.
Yeah. Like don't even bother remastering the one on PS2 and Xbox. Just like remake that.
Man, I still play that. I legit still play that.
Great. It's still great. But like at this point, like let's just have a new one. Go in on one of the new engines and just rebuild it from scratch. I think that would be cool.
Well, that would be absolutely amazing.
I mean, that kind of leads me into one of our other topics, kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but Ed Boon did recently ask everybody what they want to see in a new Mortal Kombat game. And I was surprised by the answers from everybody.
I remember seeing that. Marvel versus DC. We've been there. We've done that. I personally don't really want to see it again, but that's just that's just me. I'm sure that game has its fans.
I think most people don't realize it. Like they're not considering that this.
It came out, 16 years ago. So a lot of like younger fans might not even have been around for that. And I didn't think that game was bad. I just thought it was a styles clash that didn't really work for Mortal Kombat in particular. Yeah, it was still an interesting question, and it got Mortal Kombat and Marvel versus DC trending, I believe.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, and Ed Boon has been on a roll with that lately. A lot of the things he talks about seems to be trending lately. Hey, Kratos, yes, we are live this time. We can see you writing to us, and we can reply, as we are doing right now. And to Summer, judging by your message, it sounds like you think this is the official channel for Mortal Kombat Mobile. I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry. So this actually went trending on Twitter, and I'm very curious to see, because knowing Ed Boon, one of these is the answer to what's coming next, right? Like this is already set in stone. I mean, like that's logically, that's how I look at it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's too far in to, it's a poll to kind of gauge people's interest, but whatever's going on right now, I think they're so far into it that it's not like they're going to switch course and be like, oh, we got 40% poll on Twitter.
Scrap it. We're starting over.
Actually, you know what? Judging by the things that have been canceled and lately, like even though they've been so close to being released, I could see that happening.
Oh, you mean like a Warner Brothers decision?
Yeah, very possible.
Batgirl movie? Nope.
That's too bad. The Batman fan in me is really bummed by that. I would check.
Yeah,
I feel like in this age when people actually wanted to see another Zack Snyder movie, and no, I was not one of those people. I feel like if that can get re-released, like anything can. Like if there's enough demand, they will take that out of the vault and release it somehow. There's money to be made from that, and any canceled projects.
Yeah.
Have we seen or heard anything else about them possibly picking back up Mortal Kombat Conquest? Based on our conversations with people, I don't think there's anything concrete. However, what has been clearly stated to us is fan demand is where it's at. You guys want it. You guys got to make it clear that you want it to Warner Bros. You got to make it clear that you want it to Ed Boon. Like, ask for Shaolin Monks. Ask for Mortal Kombat Conquest Season 2. Ask for these things. Make it clear. Shout out. Come together as a community. That's the best way you're going to get anything that you want in the Mortal Kombat community, but also do it in a non-toxic manner, please. Not saying you guys do it, but just making that clear, putting that out there.
Yeah, we have a lot of new Realm Kast episodes coming up too that's going to reinforce this statement. So like Yanni said, if you want it, ask for it, because they do listen. There are people that are listening to us, believe it or not.
So Marvel versus DC. This is a very interesting one in terms of licensing for me, just purely because, you've got Warner Bros. And you've got Marvel under Disney. So this is, I don't know if Disney specifically owned the rights to the Marvel games, but I'm pretty sure they do to an extent. Although, as far as I know, it's also under the Sony umbrella for the gaming merchandise.
Spider-Man is owned by Sony, but I think the way it works is Sony is trying to maintain the rights in order to keep all the merchandising rights.
Right.
but they're sharing the movie franchise with Disney so that they can, generate interest in their merchandise.
Yes, but didn't we recently have? Wasn't the Avengers under Sony as well? I think that was a Sony exclusive. Or am I completely wrong there?
No, Avengers is Disney, Marvel. So Disney bought Marvel, and with that, they picked up a lot of the catalog. And then some of the catalogs, like X-Men, for example, have been going back to Marvel Disney. But
Yes.
Sony itself, they basically kept making Spider-Man movies in order to maintain their license. And at this point, their movies weren't doing very well, so they started sharing with Disney Marvel, and that's how Spider-Man is able to, dual cross both worlds.
Okay. No, I for some reason I had it in my head that the Avengers game was only on PlayStation, but it seems it was also on Xbox. I just checked it out now, so that's just from me.
So besides that, I mean, there has been some Mortal Kombat 2 news, a recent Easter egg. Yanni, do you want to tell us about that? Because I do not play Last of Us at all, and I'm presuming you do.
Just said it. You just said it. So basically, in the Last of Us remake, they've been changing a lot of the game. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, David, but basically, the remake has, upgraded the graphics big time.
I've been playing the hell out of it all week.
Oh yeah, all right, great. So have you come across this Easter egg?
I have not yet. No.
Okay. Worth it, by the way? Are you enjoying it?
Yes, I am. I was definitely not really like, so The Last of Us 1 specifically is one of my favorite games of all time. This is probably my 5th time through it. I played it to death on PS3 and PS4. And so when it was announced, I was like, is this the running gag now? Are they just going to re-release this game for like every Sony console? But when I think it was at Summer Game Fest that's when they announced it. It was like a month or so later, they released a behind the scenes video, like a pretty substantial video, 15 minutes or so, talking about the extent of the work they were doing. And I was like, okay, I was going to give you my money anyway, because that's how much of a sucker I am for this game. But like, at least I know that it looks like it's worth it. And I think it's incredible. Like, $70 well spent for sure.
All right. No, that's actually good news. I haven't gotten the remake myself. I've already played Last of Us 1 twice now. But it feels like this Easter egg is a really cool reason just to get it, just for the Mortal Kombat fan in me, right? Because you're walking around and you see the Mortal Kombat 2 poster in Ellie's room.
Really? I need to check that out. Okay. And I'm usually, so my favorite thing to do in video games is explore. I love to poke around, and especially in these games, they're like, come on, we got to run. I'm like, nope. There might be a broken pair of scissors. Give me a second.
Yes.
I love to find everything, but I haven't seen this yet. So now I want to look it up and see where it is so I can check it out in game.
All right.
So FANTiM.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the Last of Us stuff. I got a little clip that's kind of been making its rounds again lately. I think what was it? Game Rant picked it up, and a couple other people. It's kind of gone a little bit viral, but it's an old interview from Mortal Kombat Armageddon, and I'm just gonna try playing it, and hopefully this will translate across our live stream because it's kind of hilarious. So.
Sorry, FANTiM, let me just reply to Prince Harmony. Oh, mate.
Sure.
No, I'll do this. Is it okay? Prince Harmony, Chris Casamassa was actually our 3rd interview on the channel. So if you go back through our playlist, our Realm Kast playlist, you will get exactly what you want. So enjoy. Let us know what you think. FANTiM, if you'd like to go ahead.
All right. So yeah, this is a old clip from Mortal Kombat Armageddon, kind of going over the voice acting. So hopefully this translates across to our live stream because I want everybody to enjoy this.
Having your arms or legs or any of your favorite appendages ripped from your body.
That's it.
I can't falter. That's probably what I'd sound like.
That's also so much of Mortal Kombat Twitter every day when there's no MK20.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks to Tenno TNNO for releasing that clip. It's already started picking up stream on the internet, and like I said, it's worth everybody having a quick watch because it is actually the full interview from.
Is the rest like that? Like, is it just screaming the entire way through? Because I'd watch
There's
that.
a lot more screaming.
That's from Tenno. I'm assuming a Warframe player, but that's cool. That's a good find, honestly.
And then in other Mortal Kombat news, what do you like, David? Do you ever watch Vampire Diaries?
You know what? I've watched that whole show and I love it. And that's something I only discovered because I am married and I'm occasionally, often made to watch things I would never watch on my own. Yes, I unironically enjoy Vampire Diaries. Team
Honestly.
Stefan and Caroline forever. It just came out of me. I have no idea. Go ahead.
Honestly, I've watched it too, and it is like one of those cheesy soap opera type of shows. It came on the cusp, for those of us who don't know, it came on the cusp of like the Twilight stuff, but they took it and made like vampires intimidating and not sparkly, and they made this whole series out of it. So it's a show, and everybody's wondering right now, why are we talking about Vampire Diaries?
Natara, obviously, right?
No. Actually, Melina.
Oh,
yes. So CC
Vampiress Melina.
CC Stringer, who played Melina in the Mortal Kombat movie, is in the new it's like the fourth or fifth sequel of Vampire Diaries called Vampire Academy. And so she's been on billboards recently. She's in a new acting role in this, and she's out there doing stuff, which besides modeling, because modeling was her main job that kind of got her into Mortal Kombat. So it leads me to wonder where, I mean, if they've kicked off with a Mortal Kombat sequel, if CC's going to be in it at all. But, you know, that's kind of speculation. So I'm curious what everybody thinks about this, that she is one of the headliners of this new Vampire Academy, which is a sequel to Vampire Diaries.
So just to go a little further down the Vampire Diaries Mortal Kombat
take us all the way
crossover here. I thought that it went Vampire Diaries, then the originals, and then is the Academy. The Academy is not the third show, right? I thought that was about Klaus's and Caroline's, or Klaus's daughter.
Yeah, that's right. There was another one which is the fourth show, and there was a third show that was about witches or something. I didn't watch all these sequels. I just know about them.
Okay. I've watched all the originals except the last season, so I'm a little behind.
Own it, David. Own it.
You know what? I like to binge shows. If shows release at a trickle, I tend to wait till they're done so I can just watch them at my own pace. And that is what I will do. I swear to you now. On the first episode of the podcast, I will catch up with Vampire Diaries. I will.
Yeah, the originals is good. And then I somewhere along the lines, Academy comes into place. I don't know. There was a show before this was about a school or something, and
that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, and that one's on Netflix, I think. So there you go, all you Vampire Diary fans out there who love Mortal Kombat. Be sure to check out Vampire Academy if you want some more Melina action.
I think if there was ever a time for there are dozens of us, dozens meme, like this is probably it.
Well, right. I mean, you raise a good point though, FANTiM, as to CC's involvement in the Mortal Kombat 21 sequel, because as far as we know, it's really just sort of begun in terms of being made. I don't know what stage they're at, but if she's doing this, then is she possibly not doing that? Is she coming in to do it later, etc.? Right? I mean, for all we know, you can do more than one thing at a time, right? It just depends on the sort of scheduling. So I'm very curious as to that. But Nick the Greek has asked a question. MK11 was announced on early December 2018. Do you think this December might be our time for MK12?
Meaning the Game Awards, right? Like that could be one of the big announcements.
Could be.
I feel like they're probably gonna, not that Nintendo was the first to do this, but what I always liken this to is 2016 was Zelda's 30th anniversary. And they released Twilight Princess HD that year, I think, which in my opinion does not count. There, I said it. But they did announce Breath of the Wild that year. So even though you didn't get a new Zelda, you got an announcement. And I do think by the end of the year we will get a Mortal Kombat 12 announcement. I would put money on it. But we're not going to see it this year. I'd be very surprised.
I think we just like any form of communication as to what's going on anyway. So if
Yes.
you're that confident, I'm happy to hear it. I personally do think we'll hear something. I'm not sure if it's MK12. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm expecting some form of MK news. Like, for example, we had Legends announced. I don't know what's next. It could be in a similar vein. We could get some more news on the new movie or something, but I really, really, really do hope it's MK12 or something MK, especially in the game universe. I'd love, for example, a sort of RPG style Mortal Kombat. I'd love a return to Shaolin Monks kind of gameplay. Something along those lines would be absolutely amazing to me. Even the never made Fire and Ice, something like that would be absolutely beautiful in my opinion.
Same. And Bazooka Joe 03 says, I think if we don't hear anything at the Game Awards, we don't get a new MK game till 2024 or later. I'll disagree there only because there has not been a 5-year gap between numbered installments since MK4 to MK5. So I do have very, very good reason to believe that you'll get a Mortal Kombat game for 2024, a new one. I just don't see it happening this year.
That's a fair point. If anything, it would be an announcement, not a game. Obviously, if you look back at the MK11 announcement, it was announced and then we got it in April. That was actually very, very close in time. I did not expect it to be to release so soon after. And to be fair, I don't think it should have. It didn't seem complete on release. I loved it. I absolutely loved it on release. I had such a blast with it, but it did not feel complete. So I have a feeling that, assuming they learn the lesson, if we do get an announcement this year, it'll probably come out later in the year. But at the same time, if you're going on patterns, David, which it seems you are with the whole 2-year schedule thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do that.
No worries,
but they have always released their games in April, haven't they? March, April.
Yeah, I think a lot of the March releases, and this is the case with most companies, is because they want to get it by the end of the fiscal year, because March 31st is the end of fiscal years, and so April is the start of new. So if that's why the Switch launched in March 2017. That was like the absolute last time frame they could release it to really pad those end of year numbers. So I think we'll get an announcement before the end of the year. We might see MK. Whatever, be it 12, be it some new Mortal Kombat game, not yet another repackaging of MK11. I think we could see that in the first quarter or early quarter 2 of next year.
Yeah, I don't see any MK11 repackaging. They seem to have really, really made an effort to drop MK11 as soon as they could.
I love MK11, but I feel like that well is bone dry at this point as far as releases, it's time to move on.
We just got a MK11 repack with that 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
They could have at least thrown some new content in there. If it's such a movie tie-in, then give us the movie skins or something. Honestly, like the Sub-Zero and Scorpion skins would have been so good, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Oh yeah,
but
for sure.
Didn't happen. We've actually skipped over some questions. Sorry, guys. There was one I saw. A Katana Fan Realm. That's a
good problem to have, though, right? Like the questions are flying.
We're loving the interaction, by the way, guys. This is actually so fun. This I know a lot of you have been asking to be able to do this, to ask us questions directly, especially our guests. And Katana Fan Realm has a question. FANTiM, you want to take it?
Yeah, Katana Fan Realm asks, David, what do you think could be done to make sure future Mortal Kombat adaptations stay true to the characters' canonical arcs?
Well, I know that, the interesting thing is that, Ed Boon and John Tobias were involved in, reading the script and giving feedback on like MK95. It doesn't seem like anyone was really consulted on Annihilation. That's its own thing. but I'm sure NetherRealm had some input into MK 2021. Although, with Warner Brothers, again, they're so monolithic. Maybe they were just going to do their own thing from the get-go. I would say that the most they can do really is to consult on it and give input. But I also think that I completely get why people, whether it's like a book to TV or book to film adaptation or the adaptation of games to movies, I completely understand why most fans would want as much of a one-to-one translation as possible. But honestly, as a fan, like that's not that exciting to me, because if you look at, say, Mortal Kombat 9, I feel like Mortal Kombat 9 was the best telling of Mortal Kombat 1 through 3 ever, because you got to participate in all these grand moments. And that wouldn't have been possible in a movie because it's non-interactive, obviously, but also because, runtime and budgets are so much shorter than a game. That story mode lasted several hours. I think if you want the characters to be as accurate as possible, you just have them consult. But I'm also cool with not retreading the same ground. Like, I know a lot of people were upset at the role that Goro played in MK 2021. And I'll say that, like, I wasn't thrilled with it either, but I also didn't hate it. It was just something different. It was like Cole. I don't think they really stuck the landing with him, but it was also like a different idea. And otherwise, like, what do you do? Like, do you just remake Mortal Kombat 95? Like, we saw that. We still have it. We can watch it whenever we want. So I think that they really have to be choosy and choose like which characters to stick close to the roots and which to kind of experiment with. Like the Melina discussion earlier is a great point. Like, she's technically a clone. So if they had to recast that part for whatever reason, they could just say, oh, there's a new base of the clone, whatever. That's like a one dialogue thing to explain away a new actor in the role. So I feel like they could have a lot of fun with that while being very choosy. Like, for example, Sub-Zero and Scorpion in MK 2021 weren't totally canonically correct, but the spirit of their feud, that's what was transplanted. That was arguably the most important part of their characters, and that made the jump, just in a different way.
That's very true. Yeah, we did have, as you said, the spirits. They definitely looked the part too. They took the whole samurai aspect, of course, for Scorpion, which really seemed to be very, let's say, MK11 inspired in a way. And Sub-Zero himself was obviously supposed to be the more evil. They took it literally when, from Mythologies and onwards, which everybody's saying was an amazing game. I loved it. I love Mythologies. But the whole thing of Sub-Zero having that evil within him and just straight up made him basically an evil character. And, just judging by the fact that he died in the first movie. If you guys haven't seen it up until now, that does not count as a spoiler. I'm sorry. But just the fact that he died leads me to believe that we're getting Noob Saibot next, just judging by the fact that even at the end of the movie, Shang Tsung says, those who died truly not dead or something. I can't remember the exact line, but it's Mortal Kombat. No one ever really dies. So Noob Saibot, in my opinion. I don't see them dropping Joe Taslim, especially because I think we discussed this FANTiM. He had a 3-movie contract signed or something. There was an article about that.
Yeah, he is under a multi-film contract for sure.
So
to be honest, like that's an example of something I would love to see. Like, as much as I love Scorpion versus Sub-Zero, like, we've seen that play out and across so many different mediums. Like, give me Noob Saibot versus young Sub-Zero. Like, that's, I think, what would really, really be something literally new in MK movie canon. We have not seen that yet. And Yanni, you would know better than I would as the lore guy, but I'm pretty sure that hasn't happened yet in a movie.
In a movie, definitely not. And actually, Bran raises a point. 5 movies, apparently, not 3. So that's pretty good.
I knew it was pretty substantial. Yeah. So
yeah, but I mean that also makes me concerned about the fact that maybe it's not specifically for MK movies, just for movies under the umbrella. I don't know. We never know at this point in time, but. More Joe Taslim, I'm happy about it. But also, Bran, I've been laughing like very quietly about the equivalent of Reptile and MK1 on the Realm Kast, Look to La Luna. So just wanted to shout that out.
Yeah, so for those who are asking if Mr. Midnight Owl Bran is going to be returning to the Realm Kast, yeah, I'm sure he is.
Hell yeah. Bran, you're getting on here whether or not you like it.
Yeah, so we'll have him definitely on an upcoming Soul stream for sure.
Nice.
Bran also mentioned something a little bit earlier. He mentioned that Josh Lawson had a role in Cobra Kai when we were going over the fact of CC Stringer returning to Mortal Kombat. So, yeah, I mean, again, these actors are doing other things in the meantime. It's a question of scheduling, recording, and that sort of thing right now, which I'm sure Mr. Midnight Owl will take us deeper into when he comes back on the show.
Interesting point Brand made. That was what happened with Robin Shaw, 3-movie deal with New Line Cinema. He ended up doing Beverly Hills Ninja.
Yes.
But I believe that only happened because the third MK movie, I think it got scrapped, and so they needed a movie for him to fulfill their end of the deal. So he was put in Beverly Hills Ninja. Otherwise,
That's literally why I brought up this point, though. But I was thinking
okay.
back on Robin. So the fact that he's mentioned it, that's exactly what was going through my mind. I was thinking, well, if things don't go the way we think, then for all we know, it could be 3 movies, yes, as we said initially, but then it ends up being 2 other movies outside of Mortal Kombat, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
I love Beverly
sorry
Hills
to
Ninja.
interrupt you.
No, all good. Yeah, I think a lot of people are probably thinking that same thing. So
yeah,
MK fans on the same page.
it's the unknown sequel to Mortal Kombat 2.
That's right. It's very threadbare connections, but they're there. You just gotta.
Well, speaking of being on the same page, I don't know what page I've gotten to in your book, but I have been having an amazing time reading it.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I wrote it. I mentioned this. I had an MK fan. Muggsy is a huge Mortal Kombat fan. Contact me on Twitter. He backed the book on Indiegogo, I believe, and it's still up on Indiegogo as of right now. And I told him, and I'll tell you, I wrote Long Live Mortal Kombat as a love letter to fans. If fans are happy with this book, then I did my job. This is the book
I have to interrupt you there.
Yes,
just that little sort of speak typo you made. Long Love Mortal Kombat. That should be one of the next titles.
Long Love. That's book 2 right there. Yeah, that's book 2 right there. That's cat's out of the bag. But no, I had a blast writing that book. It was a labor of love, emphasis on labor and love, though. So I'm really glad to hear you're enjoying it.
And so for those of our guests who haven't met David before on the previous episode of the Realm Kast, David L. Craddock is the writer for Long Live Mortal Kombat, an upcoming book which recently got fully funded, and the digital edition has already been released.
As a surprise, a very nice surprise, David.
So I myself, I'm on chapter 7 right now. And I gotta say, like, I'm love the way this book's written, because when it was first described to us on the episode, I thought that this book was going to be like a documentary in a book form. You know, you're kind of sitting down with these different people and telling their stories, but that's not really what it is. It's like a third person point of view story about Mortal Kombat.
Like a biography of sorts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's so interesting because, you know, you go back to the creation of pinball, and from there go into how Midway was formed, and how, you know, these different people involved started talking about making games, and then Mortal Kombat started coming about. And the whole time I'm reading it, I'm just like, this isn't like, I don't want to say I expected it to be boring, because you know, when we talked, it didn't sound boring, but
I couldn't possibly write anything boring. I know that's what you're saying.
100%.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't a, you know, just like some data book with, you know, factual information or anything like that. It was it was the story of Mortal Kombat.
Story. Yeah, exactly. And one thing that I was saying to FANTiM, actually, because we've been sort of back and forth about the book, very little bits in our free time, but I love how you've given certain individuals certain aspects of Mortal Kombat, certain aspects of video games, as FANTiM said, pinball, sort of origin stories, all of which tie together. And that, to me, and I've mentioned this before in sort of other discussions in a different manner, but that is so Mortal Kombat, because to me, the way that I've grown up putting the lore together of Mortal Kombat is not just through watching the story or going through, like, you know, just reading one person's biography when I beat the game or something. No, it's finding all those different bios, watching all those different endings, finding little bits, for example, in Deception, items and such, a very From Software approach, but putting those all together. And that's how I see Mortal Kombat. And that is genuinely how I feel reading your book. And to me, that's a home run in terms of writing style, especially for Mortal Kombat. So thank you. It's a great book.
I really appreciate that. That's exactly what I set out to do. So the specific genre, which I love, is called narrative nonfiction. And it means a nonfiction book that reads like a novel rather than like a textbook. There are a lot of books about video games that definitely feel like they should be sold in university bookstores, because they're just kind of dry. They're very matter of fact. And I wanted to tell stories, because just as there is, so with a lot of my previous books, such as Stay Well and Listen, which is my best-selling series about Blizzard and Diablo, I go inside the studio, but I don't really go outside. What I wanted to do with Long Live Mortal Kombat, not to just kind of rehash our first interview, but I wanted to, and so the book is divided into 4 sections, and each section kind of goes along the same formula, which is let's talk about how the game was made, but then let's talk about how it affected people once it hit shelves. Let's talk about how they brought Mortal Kombat into their lives and how subsequently Mortal Kombat changed their lives. And in every single case, it's for the better. And that's not me being selective. You know, one thing I set out to do in one of the chapters is debunk the argument that violent video games beget violence. They do not. There's scientific data expressing that they do not. And every single person I talked to was affected positively by Mortal Kombat and Doom and all those other games we weren't supposed to play when we were kids. So I really just wanted to, get involved in telling personal stories about Mortal Kombat. And I'm glad you're enjoying it so far.
Well, I mean, you've definitely managed with the personal stories and everything. And one thing that actually sticks out to me is in those stories is actually a sort of answer for Sterling Busma's question. Why not lean into full CGI all the way? Why not go with the best martial artist for mocap, push the envelope again? It's a great question. And I think that the answer comes up in David's book, actually. And as long as I have permission to sort of mention this sort of very small excerpt,
Sure.
I don't know the exact wording off the top of my head. I think it was John Tobias who specifically mentioned this. But the idea that they sort of took with Mortal Kombat was that they wanted to sort of blend the sort of realist kind of look and the animated sort of look. You didn't want to just have it being completely real. You didn't want to have it be too animated. They wanted to have that blend, which was the general style that they were going for Mortal Kombat. And I think as fans, I think we've all noticed that over the years. From Mortal Kombat 1, obviously they digitized them, but they still managed to get that style. And that's something that I feel has continued all the way up until Mortal Kombat 11 even. Like, we look at the faces, and the faces are clearly, they're scanned and everything, sure. But at the same time, while they look so real, there's still a sort of, fake animation to them. And that is, in my opinion, fitting in perfectly aligned with what I think it was John Tobias, what he said about trying to find that style. And I think that's why they don't do what you've asked, Sterling. I know it's a very long-winded answer to your question, but it's such an interesting book. David has managed to find out. I thought I knew like not everything about Mortal Kombat, but I know a lot just because I constantly do my research on it. I know we all do as fans, but man, the amount of stuff that David has managed to find, which I'm just like, I did not know that. It's just so interesting. I highly recommend this book. It's even if it's not your style of writing or the kind of book you normally read, as a Mortal Kombat fan, I can promise you'll love it.
I really appreciate that, and you're exactly right. So one of the reasons I traced the origin stories of things like pinball and the art style was not only because I was interested in them and it's my book and I'll do whatever the hell I want with it, but because all of those things are actually relevant to Mortal Kombat. When you talk about pinball, that's Williams and Midway history, but also the history of Eugene Davis, who contributed to Mortal Kombat in 2 very significant ways. First, he was kind of a mentor to Ed Boon and John Tobias. Second, he wrote the base code, the operating system that powered most of Midway's coin-op games, including Mortal Kombat. So I kind of wanted to show how that often happens in games today. We call them engines. Like, back in the 90s, there were Doom clones where id Software was licensing the Doom engine. So you saw a lot of first-person shooters made with id's technology, and also Build, the Duke 3D engine, Quake technology. Today, a lot of it is Unreal and Unity. So, showing that the more things change, the more they kind of stay the same. The games industry is very cyclical, and it tends to repeat a lot of its processes, but with different technologies and different people kind of carrying the torches forward. As far as the art style goes, one thing I didn't think of at the time was I was so fixated on Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat when I was a kid that I wasn't really considering the lineage of certain studios. I didn't really consider that Street Fighter 2, being a Japanese made game, was heavily inspired by anime. That only makes sense, right? Well, Midway at the time, their modus operandi was, we're using digitization. Make your game with digitization. Do whatever you want, but you're using this technology. So John Tobias and Ed Boon were thinking like, okay, well, what if we have like a game that looks like a movie, but kind of has this East versus West mashup of style? So that made it distinct from other digitized games, not only by competitors, but from other games within Midway. I mean, nobody can really say Mortal Kombat and NBA Jam and Narc look alike, right? There might be some similarities there, but it was people using the same technology, but kind of taking the ball, an NBA Jam pun, and running with it and doing their own thing as style goes. And so I really wanted to dig into that.
Definitely have.
Yeah. I'm still curious about what's going to happen next. Honestly, I don't know exactly where I stopped. I keep switching between audio and reading it, and I stopped now on audio. But like, it feels like there's so much more coming that I'm just going to be shocked by, that I had no idea was coming. So I'm looking forward to it. In fact, I mean, once we're done with this, I'm probably going to head to bed and then get the book out, basically on my phone or on my laptop or something. It's such a great read. Scott Howell is asking a great question, David, that you might want to answer.
Yeah, so yeah, Scott, if you didn't back it, that's totally fine. You can still back it, at least for the next day or so, on Indiegogo. But also, this will be a general release. You will be able to buy this in bookstores. You'll be able to buy it on Amazon. In fact, if you're into ebooks, as Yanni mentioned, I gave all the Kickstarter and Indiegogo backers, as well as friends like these two guys right here, the digital copy early. And I wanted to give Kickstarter backers the digital copy early. It will release on October 8th because I felt like, hey, they were there supporting me, so I want to, give them the first look at it. But the book will be released in paperback, hardcover, and digital editions on October 8th. And I've signed a contract with an audiobook production company. We're working on casting a narrator right now, so we'll be able to listen to it on Audible and other audiobook services, hopefully by the end of the year, but if not, then early in 2023.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been just using like some Android software to listen to it, and as I've been listening to it, it's jacked up the book a little bit. So every once in a while, I get strange things. I actually messaged David earlier this week. I was like, "Hey, you've misspelled."
And gives me heart attacks. I'm like, "Oh, is that a typo?" I'm like, "Oh wait, no, it's his problem." Okay, no, good.
Yeah, I'm using the same program. He sent it to me, and I'm like, "Sabuero, who?"
No, it always because it never fails, right? Like no game launches without bugs, no book launches without typos. I'm sure there are some, but like if I misspelled like chapter, I'm in deep trouble. So I was glad to hear that everything is so far nice and smooth for you.
So yeah, I'm super excited for the audiobook because I usually don't have time to sit down and read, but I can listen to audiobooks when I'm traveling and stuff like that. So yeah, it's that's one of my big excitements for this book. But I ordered on hardcover, so I'm gonna have it back here somewhere, I'm sure, by the time it gets here. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, there's I definitely set out to, and I do this with every book I write. I love a lot of popular games like Mortal Kombat, like Doom, like Diablo, but I always want to make sure that I don't just tell you the same stories you've already heard. So that's why I took a very, not only behind the scenes at Midway approach, but a fan-centric approach. There's a lot about this book that was very difficult to write. And as you continue reading, you will understand why. Not everyone is going to be happy about it, but the truth is the truth, and you'll know when you get there.
Interesting.
I like that. I like that. It's truth focused. That's what we want from the community. We mentioned earlier that we all love the speculation in the Mortal Kombat community, but we also do like a bit of truth at the end of that speculation. So that's a great way of putting it.
There's so much various drama from the time of this game's inception. So the fact that you're saying that, I'm curious to see how this book goes on now.
If I don't hear from you guys when you get to the certain parts, I'll be very, very surprised.
Did you say bad stuff about the Realm Kast?
Oh, you've already read it, so let me explain. No. There's honestly not. I love being on this show, so I couldn't possibly say anything bad about the Realm Kast. There's nothing bad about the Realm Kast. It's just that simple.
Thank you. No, we love having you on here.
Yeah,
For sure.
and now everybody listening is enticed a little bit more to pick this up. So
there you go.
And we've had a couple of cool questions. Again, the mythologies question. Yes, I would love to see more mythologies. I really would. That actually ties back into the question from earlier about the digitization process and keeping it sort of real and animated at the same time. I feel like mythologies really had that, but then all the cinematics were live action. I will never forget, and I've mentioned this on the show before, that cutscene where Sub-Zero is locked up and then Scorpion just comes out, "You killed me in cold blood." It's so cheesy. It's Mortal Kombat, and I love it. I want Mortal Kombat mythologies to come back 100%.
Absolutely. I should mention too, this book is called Long Live Mortal Kombat Round 1 because it is the first book in a trilogy. In fighting game style, it'll be Long Live Mortal Kombat Round 1, Round 2, and Final Round, because it's got to be best 2 out of 3. And Book 1 goes through MK1, from MK1 through MK4, and talks about the home releases in there. So mythologies is something I explore in depth in Round 2. So you can look forward to more about that. And also, if you weren't already tantalized, John Tobias himself wrote a foreword for this book. So that's a pretty big stamp of approval, I humbly submit.
Mm-hmm. Now, I remember FANTiM and I mentioning to each other, like, dude, he got John Tobias to do the foreword. Like, oh my god, we were so happy for you, but we were also so happy for the book too. It's actually, we love hearing from John Tobias, because I know he comes out of his shell sometimes to say stuff about Mortal Kombat and then does his own thing, and I really respect that. But just the fact that he came out to say something, not just something, he did literally write the foreword for your book. That's huge in my opinion. So congratulations on that too.
Yeah.
Oh no, thank you very much. It was very special to me. In the author's note at the beginning of the book, I talk about why Ed Boon, kind of what Ed Boon and John Tobias mean to me as far as the context of my history with video games. So to have John put his stamp of approval on it and attest to its accuracy meant a lot.
We have another question coming in from Survived Combatants. He's saying, back in the day, there was a lot of controversies in the game industry, both behind the scenes and publicly, just like today. Is there any sort of controversy, maybe sales, Midway stepping in during the creative process, creative differences among developers or whatnot that's in the book?
There are several. I'm not going to spoil the big one. I don't like to use it as like a sales hook, because it is very, very uncomfortable and unfortunate. But I'll mention another one. Mortal Monday almost didn't happen because Ed Boon and John Tobias would not sign off on the Super Nintendo port of Mortal Kombat. This was like on the Friday before release, when cartridges are being flown and driven through like the Mexico border, where I think a lot of the Acclaim manufactured Sega Genesis cartridges. And I talked to Rob Holmes and Greg Fishbach, 2 of the 3 co-founders of Acclaim, who said in no uncertain terms, like, if this doesn't happen, we will sue Williams, because we have invested $10 million, from between manufacturing and ads. And even Williams said, like, I talked to Ken Fidesna, among others, for this book, who was the general operations manager, kind of Neil Nicastro's right-hand man, and said, like, we kind of had to ram it through. This book was going, or this game was going to happen. And, the quality is not perfect. The Super Nintendo version did have a lot of lag, which was, I covered why that happened in another book I wrote called Arcade Perfect, about home ports. But to know that it almost didn't happen like days beforehand was pretty surprising to learn.
And I love that you're telling us this like right after Mortal Monday's anniversary just occurred as well.
Yeah.
And everybody's celebrating. It's like, oh, but it actually almost didn't happen.
I know, yeah. I'd like to think. And that was like, that changed so much. Mortal Kombat's violence was controversial, but it also went on to mature the video games industry, right? Like it kind of made Nintendo especially accept that, okay, games are not just for kids. They're not just toys. There are older players who are interested in this content matter. And getting stomped at retail is what forced them to say, all right, Mortal Kombat 2, have the blood in from the beginning on the Super Nintendo version. So that led to the ESRB, which is actually a really important innovation in the industry. But it also led to other things, just like, a widespread use of digitized graphics and things like that. So all those stories and more I get into.
And there is another question here from Survive Combatants. He says, Mortal Kombat has always been a series of innovation when it comes to story mode, different types of finishers, running mechanics, variations, etc. Is there any underlying innovation we maybe don't even think about, to your knowledge, or in the book, like tech used or setting standards or of something like digitation?
So tech-wise, I do definitely dig into. I think a lot of fans know this. There are Mortal Kombat fans who prefer MK1 to MK2, but I think even most of us who loved MK1 remember it as feeling a lot stiffer and clunkier than MK2. MK2 is so smooth, control and movement-wise, and I get into why that is, and it had to do with two things. It was a change that Midway made to their arcade hardware, but also a new camera that Mortal Kombat Success kind of made possible within the studio. But I found that another interesting point was John Tobias telling me that, like, Ed and I, just to paraphrase, he and Ed did not have a lot of time to think ahead. So today, Mortal Kombat fans are like, oh, they must have had like this, like, Charlie Kelly Always Sunny conspiracy gif about all these connections between the characters. And John was like, no. We had a few ideas, but we were like so busy. Every development schedule was so intense that we were mostly thinking of like one game at a time. We had no idea what was going to happen in the future in most cases. And so it just goes to show that, like, a lot of game development, even today, like I'm actually working on a game right now. I'm writing a game that has yet to be announced, and we're going through like design documents and story presentations. And when it comes to fiction, I'm a discovery writer. I just want to be like, guys, if you could just give me like a week and a half, I'll just bang something out and kind of make it up as I go along. But you can't do that when they're like programmers who need to know how things are supposed to work, and artists and level designers who have to make this stuff. But even back then, it was like so seat of your pants that you didn't have a lot of time to plan stuff out. You were just totally heads down in whatever you were working on at that moment. So if a lot of the lore from those sort of games doesn't add up, that is why. No one was ever thinking 1 + 1 = 2. They were like 1 + we'll figure it out later, sort of thing.
But that's actually one of the cool parts, though, because we've talked about how the lore started off with Ed and Tobias, with what seems to be Tobias taking most of the reign over the books over the games from Mortal Kombat 1 to 3, 4-ish, and then Vogel coming in and handling the lore as a whole, sort of for the 3D era. And one of the cool things about that is that really Vogel seems to have worked with what Tobias left him, but took it in a different direction. And I find that, like, as a sort of positive. Yes, okay, there's going to be some inconsistencies, and as fans, all fans will do this. Every gaming community, every gaming franchise, whatever, we will find them. We will. We're going to find it. We're either going to love it or we're going to complain about it. And that's just, I guess, how the fans are. Maybe we shouldn't be that way, but we are. And it's just cool because you can see that what you're saying is completely true. They didn't have it all planned out from the beginning, but at the same time, maybe not having it planned out from the beginning is actually what allowed them so much freedom with each title to allow it to grow into what we know and love today.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think a lot of fans might know this, but one thing I write about is after Mortal Kombat Success, both Boone and Tobias were happy with it, but they were like, all right, let's do something else. Like, they weren't, Mortal Kombat 2 was not a given. They wanted to make a Star Wars game. And Neil Nicastro and Ken Fidesna were like, you're making Mortal Kombat 2. And so this is one of those areas where, like, I wanted to go beyond. So I asked Ken, like, hypothetically, suppose Ed and John had said, no, we really want to do Star Wars. What would have happened? He said, we would have let them, and we would have given Mortal Kombat 2 to someone else. And we knew that would make them go, no, wait, we'll do it. Like you kind of have to not that they're manipulative, but like he even said, like a lot of times, you know, what you have to do with creatives is tell them like, we're going to do this thing anyway. And that will kind of manipulate them honestly into going like, oh, okay, I want to do it. I want to do it right. And so they were going to get Mortal Kombat 2 one way or another, but it might not have been by Ed Boon and John Tobias, which is wild to think about.
Yeah, it really is.
Looks like Survived has 2 more questions for you. And if anybody else wants to participate and ask Dave some questions, feel free to join our chat on either Twitch or on YouTube. That's
Or Facebook.
At Facebook, yeah. Realm Kast or Mortal Kombat Meme Realm. All 3 of them link into this chat. So we're monitoring your chats and we're keeping an eye on what you guys are asking right now. But Survived asks, there's a 30 years of Mortal Kombat, and we're still finding out secrets like the EJB menu, stories on ports, and more on development side. Will this possibly ever end as your book scratches more than a surface on some of these stories type of thing?
I think that there are probably still secrets to discover. I mean, as an example, I have an entire chapter on Mortal Kombat Nitro, an almost happened re-release of Mortal Kombat on Super Nintendo with blood and new fatalities. An entire chapter on the canceled Mortal Kombat trilogy HD remaster that Digital Eclipse was working on. So there's probably still stuff out there that I don't know. The thing is, this book is, and it's book 1, keep in mind, this book alone is 210,000 words, and I still couldn't possibly tell every story that there is to tell. But I think even going on what we've talked about so far, there's a lot of stuff that even the most diehard fans won't know and will find pretty shocking.
We have a previous episode of the Realm Kast with James Fink, who worked for Acclaim and did a lot of this stuff. And, you know, he told us a little bit about Nitro and some of the issues they had with Acclaim. But I am still super excited to see how this fits into the whole narrative of Long Live Mortal Kombat, because as I said earlier, you know, it's not just one person's story, it's the game story. And as I'm reading through it, we're getting all these different points of view, and it's kind of contributing to the main storyline of this book. So yeah, I'm super excited to see how this or what else is in there too. So
it's such an interesting thing. Just it's the Mortal Kombat characters all coming together to make the lore. Each character's background it contributes in some way to the overarching story, and it's genuinely just looking like at in real life Mortal Kombat franchise and seeing all the people behind it as well doing the exact same thing, you know.
Right. Yeah, James is a really cool guy. I love talking with him. In fact, I just finally got on eBay, I got one of the Mortal Kombat 4 like pocket code size book that he wrote. So hopefully one day I'll get to meet James and I can sign his book and he can sign, or I'll sign mine and he'll sign his, that sort of thing. We'll do an autograph swap or something. But yeah, you know, James had, and along with many of his disciples, as they were called, had a lot of cool stories with me about the arcade culture, which is something else I wanted to write about because it was part of my childhood as well, and how that arcade culture kind of came back with Street Fighter 2 and MK and then kind of dwindled again near the end of MK4, and how actually Midway, again, I heard from management, they were like, if Ed and John don't want to take a break from this, we're going to make them take a break, because MK4 sales, unfortunately, were like abysmal, which is heartbreaking for fans like me, but like, you know, just stuff like that, all sorts of stories waiting for you in Long Live Mortal Kombat.
And then another question here. I make the comparison of the Street Fighter 2 is the Wolfenstein of fighters, and Mortal Kombat is the Doom of fighters, as Street Fighter set the stone for all fighting games today. But Mortal Kombat was bloody and mature, new game on the block. And do you agree with that? And, you know, you actually have a chapter that kind of dives into that in your book, that Street Fighter is not exactly the foundation of fighting games.
No. So I wanted, the chapter appropriately is chapter 10, Here Comes a New Challenger. And I wanted to dig into that because one thing I wanted to ask a lot of developers and players and journalists was, you know, what did Mortal Kombat like objectively do for arcades that Street Fighter hadn't already done? And the answer really was, whether you preferred one series or another, Mortal Kombat was this expression of American culture. It was dirty, it was gritty, it was sensational, And there's some deep mechanics in there as well, but like it was a really cool kind of cultural touchstone for a lot of people going forward. And I feel like that's one reason it really spoke to American audiences. And I think Street Fighter 2 was probably, I think that's a pretty good comparison. I don't remember who made that, but it's funny. Just recently with GoldenEye HD being announced, I've always likened to that. So one of my projects is I'm writing and directing a movie, a documentary on first-person shooters, and I've always thought of GoldenEye as the console FPS Wolfenstein to Halo's Doom. Right? It was just sort of the evolution of a type of game. And I think that's pretty accurate, but I think that there is a lot to love from both sides. And there were a lot of players I talked to who were like, I just played both. But, you know, the rivalry, even in arcades, could be pretty heated with some fans of one game or the other kind of turning their noses up at the game across the aisle. So it's pretty interesting to hear about firsthand.
Welcome, Jasper. Good to have you.
Yes, welcome, Jasper, one of the biggest MK collectors out there.
Yeah, and thank you everybody who's joined the show so far. We're still taking questions for David. If you got any, feel free to type them in the chat. Yani, do you have any questions specifically for David today?
I feel like I'm afraid to ask anything because I'm really enjoying reading through the book without knowing what's coming next. And
I know, I'm like the same way.
Exactly. So that's why I'm enjoying other people asking questions. And obviously, David, you're answering things and technically spoiling parts of the later book, but it's different because I'm not thinking of those things and it's just coming up naturally. I don't know if that makes sense. But I'm definitely going to have more questions for you when I properly read through the entire thing. Unlike FANTiM, I like reading it myself rather than having somebody read it to me. So I should have it done somewhat soon, as soon as time permits. But I'll definitely have a bunch more questions for you. But I guess one question that I would like to ask is, how the hell did you manage to get everybody that you spoke to? Because I mean, we do something similar here on the Realm Kast, but you went in deep.
Oh yeah.
It's a pretty intensive process. It's almost like
Scott. I just saw his comment.
I'll read it to you. And I see, there you go. What a guy. See, that's the Mortal Kombat community for you. We love this violent game, but we're very hearing people. It was really intensive. It was a lot of interviewing, a lot of transcribing, which I used to do myself. But for this, I had so many interviews. I interviewed over 60 people for this book alone. Wow. And you figure I talk to each person a minimum of an hour, but usually 2 to 4. That's just, it adds up. So I use an auto transcribing program for the first time, which entails a lot of work in and of itself because you have to go through and like fix typos and stuff. But I just happen to write pretty fast, which sounds like a humble brag, but it's really not. Like I set a daily word count goal for this book. It happened to be a chapter a day, and did a lot of revision. And I don't think you can do something like this without being organized. Like I said, I have like 4 or 5 things going right now, all writing related, and I just have to block out my time very, very carefully. That's the only way I can get any of this stuff done.
It's actually crazy to hear that. And I know this is, I mean, it's Realm Kast and Long Live Mortal Kombat related, but it's interesting that you've gone through 60 something interviews, and the Realm Kast is now we've uploaded about 30 plus interviews at this point in time. So I'm just imagining that in a different manner, on a different scale for the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've been working on it for 3 years, and David, you've like doubled our workload.
I mean, it's so different. And you guys, I mean, I enjoy your show because that's the thing. We're all 3 of us are storytellers. We're just telling a story in a different medium, and we're all contributing to Mortal Kombat history because, and George Lucas knows this very well, all creators do, but once you put something out there, it's no longer yours. It becomes the public, and the transfer of ownership in that regard is fascinating. It's something we're all, I mean, now all 3 of us and so many other super fans like Jasper, like Tabmok99, like James Fink, we're all part of Mortal Kombat history, but in different ways. And it's because we all love this damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, actually, your answer kind of relates to what Survived is saying. You're right in the sense that it does become the fans really baby in a way. It's all of our things now. Survived asks David, how is interacting with the MK community? It's so different as there are lore masters, being one of the first fighting games with actual lore, casual players who play story mode, single player content, and a competitive scene which keeps growing. And I think that's a great question because Mortal Kombat has so many different types of fans. As he said, there's lore masters, there's people who like the actual fighting itself, there's people who just specifically like arcades in general, you know? What would you say to that?
No, that's an outstanding question, Survive Combatants, and you're really throwing some great questions at me today. I appreciate it. So that's one of the big differentiators between Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Like Street Fighter added a story mode way too late to the game. I don't really care why Ken and Ryu are fighting. They're just kind of fighting. I think that most Street Fighter players are just in it for the mechanics, and like story mode is just kind of gravy, right? Like maybe they're good. I don't know. I've never played them. But like Mortal Kombat from the beginning, and John Tobias and I talked about this, like it was kind of it was counterculture in and of itself to make an arcade game that actually encouraged people to stop and read or watch the attract mode, right? Like even John said, like we were leery of that because you don't want people to stop and watch the attract mode. You want them giving those
And
quarters.
not putting coins. Yeah.
I remember as a kid being bummed. I would just watch the attract mode to read the character bios and figure out how they kind of tied together. And I would be bummed when some kid would come along with quarters. I'm like, no, dude, do not give them money. I'm reading right now. This is my reading time.
10 more seconds.
10 more seconds. And then my mom would come from shopping, pick me up, and I have to leave anyway. You know how it goes. But it was really great interacting with the Mortal Kombat community. I was not kidding earlier when I said that I have not had a negative experience. The Mortal Kombat community as a whole are just some of the nicest people I've ever interacted with. And that's exactly what I was hoping for, and my hopes were met and exceeded, honestly. And that's also one of the reasons I wanted to talk to so many different people. I know that there are people who, I talk to international players who are like, I don't care about the lore. I've never even beaten single player. I just play competitively. And then there are people who are nothing but the lore. And then there are people who enjoy the lore from some games or how it's presented in other games while also having certain, following certain characters in terms of gameplay, in terms of lore. That's what's fascinating about Mortal Kombat to me. And again, to circle back, that's what set it apart from Street Fighter. Like Street Fighter's attract mode was like, hey, do you want to know Ken's blood type? Like, no, who cares? But I do want to know, like, what happened to Kano's eye? And oh shit, Scorpion just took his mask off. That dude is undead. Like these were huge. Like even fatalities, that was the mode of storytelling. When Scorpion took his face off, you were like, oh, this is a whole other layer to this character. That literally. Literally. That stuff Mortal Kombat was doing that other games really were not, arcade or otherwise, back then.
Well, David, for those of our listeners who haven't purchased your book yet, tell us, how are they going to be able to find it? Besides, do you got the official release dates for the physical copies and things like that yet?
Yeah, they should be out. Physical copies should be out on or around October 8th. Still having some printer delays. COVID is still very much a thing, despite a lot of the world wishing that they could just kind of ignore it and move on. So there's still delays around that. But right now on Amazon, you can pre-order the Kindle edition. If you go to longliveMortalKombat.com, you will be notified. There'll be purchase links up there when it's available in stores and online. And also just follow me on Twitter at David L. Craddock. I tweet about everything under the sun, but you'll definitely know when Long Live Mortal Kombat is available.
Yeah, and if you're interested too, the site that I was showcasing earlier is longliveMortalKombat.com. And it has a lot of David's links and some links to his Indiegogo. Is it still up on Indiegogo, or is that?
It is still up as of right now. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, be sure to check out Long Live Mortal Kombat. As we've said, I mean, we recommend it. Everything I've been reading, it's great writing. It's Mortal Kombat. You can't beat it. So
just in case you are thinking like, oh well, I've heard this interview and I've heard the last interview. I don't need to get the book. I've heard everything I need to. Trust me, this barely scratches the surface of what's in that book. I mean, we spoke to him directly, and we haven't even we're still discovering more things as we read. It's definitely worth it in my opinion.
Yeah. So one thing you both mentioned earlier is that I am spoiling things here and there, but I'm doing that deliberately. It's because there's that much more I'm not spoiling, right? So you'll have plenty of stuff you haven't heard about.
The book is huge, and you know when we first heard about it, I was like, well, it's basically going to be the Realm Kast in book form. But then as I started reading through, I was like, this is so different. This is completely different. Like, I love it. So yeah, so be sure to pick it up, everybody listening.
Appreciate that.
So as part of Soulstream, we would like to showcase some of the fan artwork that we receive, because you guys send us stuff all the time. Not just to the Realm Kast, but also through Mortal Kombat Online. So
not just to the meme realm either. I've got so many memes in the backlog.
I can imagine your memes.
They're hilarious. To any of you who've sent it in, I haven't replied yet. I'm sorry. It's great. Just let me get to it.
So yeah, so we're constantly getting various pieces of art, various memes, different things like that. If you ever want to submit anything to us, feel free to go to Mortal Kombat Online. There's a whole submission section there, and we get everything that you guys are sending through, and we might show your work next. Right now, we've been receiving some stuff from Walter Trono, who is a artist, and also I've noticed he kind of does some comic books and stuff. But let me show you guys some of the art that he's been sending in, because it's pretty fantastic. Let me see. So he shared with us 4 different pieces. We have this amazing piece of Kerry Tagawa as Shang Tsung.
I feel like this was made for the Soul Stream. Like
it totally was. Like, look at everything rising behind him. It looks like an animated background. Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah,
it's really cool. And then this stuff, when I first got it from him, I was like, I thought it was kind of like a digital composite or something, but you can look into it, and it's got etch markings and everything from it. So yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. And then he also sent over, let me show you the next piece that we got. We have Chris Casamassa as Scorpion.
Nice. Love that one.
Yeah. Beautiful work.
That's so good.
And then
look at the detail on that. Can you go back to that? That is actually so good. Can you zoom into the mask?
Oh yeah, let me pull that back up.
Yeah, it looks like someone took a photograph and then painted it. It's just incredible.
Yeah. But each look at that. Each little, I don't know how to say this, dot. You know what I mean? I obviously I'm on a computer, so pixel, but it's just so detailed. That is amazing.
And then the next piece we have from him is Reptile.
Ooh. Oh wow! Oh, that's very Shaolin Monks inspired, I think.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
one of the coolest takes on his classic ninja attire, but reptilian body that I've seen yet. I love that.
Best reptile design, in my opinion, Shaolin Monks.
Yeah,
I'm glad I brought that forward into Armageddon. Actually,
same.
All right, and then I got one more, which this last one I had to censor a little bit just because I don't know how our various platforms are going to interpret it.
I know which one this is. I'm pretty sure I know which one this is.
Oh, have you seen this one?
Love it.
Whoa, look at that dragon. Yeah.
So we got this great piece of Molina. I definitely recommend checking out his work and kind of seeing these in the full version without our little dragon sensor emoji that we had to shove over it, but it's good stuff.
I love that we can show Mortal Kombat gore and everything, but the moment you show some skin, nope.
I knew you were going to go there, Yanni.
Come on, it's just so silly.
It is. I love American prudishness is usually
So if you'd like to see,
we can take his head off, but no, she can't show her ankles.
So if you'd like to see more of Walter's work, you can find him at Walter Trono on Twitter. And I checked for an Instagram handle. I didn't see one, but it's WalterTrono. So be sure to check out his stuff.
We will add his credit to the description of this video, at least on YouTube and everywhere else that we can add a description.
Awesome.
All right, and then Yanni, I think you got a little announcement to make real quick.
Well, we've got a birthday today, and
Whose? Is
well,
it mine?
we were. We've actually had a couple of birthdays recently. We recently had Jeremy Adams. We had Fatal Cade from Mortal Kombat Online. So happy birthday, guys. But today's birthday, as far as I can tell, is Justin McCollum, or according to his Twitter handle, we were talking about how to pronounce this. You're going to have to confirm this for us, man, if you get to hear this. But at Just M Column. I'm so close to saying MK Column because that just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, man, from the Realm Kast.
Happy birthday. Super talented artist.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, I mean, he does all these different 3D renders and stuff like that. He's been involved in some various projects like the Mortal Kombat HD. So be sure to check him out. Also, a lot of Tabmox videos. Tabmox 99, uses a lot of his work too. So some great stuff there too. So be sure to wish Justin a happy birthday. And then on the docket today, we have an announcement. So for those of everybody who saw our last episode, we had a Diamond Select Toys giveaway. We're giving away a Raiden statue like this guy right here.
In a box.
Yes, in a box, not mine. You don't get mine. So yes, so we went ahead and drew names for that. So we have a couple runner-ups. We're gonna send you guys out some Realm Kast swag. So the runner-ups are Peachy Charles 3 and Scott A. I'm not gonna say your last name on here, but we will be contacting both of you to make sure that you guys get your swag.
Okay, hold on. Come on, like at least build it up. You just threw the names out there. Make it fun.
Oh, do you want a drum roll for the grand prize?
Sure. Something. Just build it up a little bit. You're a winner here. We've got this contest. We're finally announcing who won it after delaying it by a week or something. Come on,
we got a lot of people waiting for this. We should wait a while.
I guess like what we could do to add some tension here is just delay it by another month. You want to do that?
That sounds good. What do you guys say in the chat? Let us know.
We'll tell you now if you've. Does anybody know the Ultimate Combat Code? Because if so, you can unlock the grand prize.
Well, speaking of a code, we do have one coming up after this.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, Scott Howe. Clever, man. He's on top of it.
Scott Howe. Is that it?
Yeah, A is his middle initial. It's an easy mistake to make. So,
right. FANTiM, would you like to announce the winner of the Diamond Select Toys Raiden diorama?
Yes, the winner is MK Scorpion 101. We have your contact information, so we will be sending you out a message, and we'll be sending that statue over to you. So, congratulations, MK Scorpion.
And congratulations to our runner-ups too. We do plan on having more giveaways in the future, so keep an eye out for those. Somebody mentioned on the meme realm, a Shang Tsung figure or something would have been perfect for the Soul Stream, and I totally agree. We need to see if we can make that happen at some point. That would be great. But for those of you who haven't actually won, sorry, but you do still gain from this. And 1 second. Throat.
Oh.
So if you would like a Diamond Select Toys, anything form of merchandise from DST, we do have a 20% off coupon provided from them. They've been kind enough to give us a coupon to share with all of you. And that is Realm 22, REALM for Realm Kast 22. So go grab some MK merch from DST. They're a great company. They've got some really quality products. And thank you to them also for allowing us or sharing a code with us to be able to share with you guys.
Yeah, and just to be clear, and for this isn't a sponsored post. This is just Diamond Select Toys giving our listeners something because they like you and we like you. So 20% off. Yanni, should we host another contest right now? What do you think?
Right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to?
Why not? Let's do it.
All right. So I received a package in the mail just today, right before I got on here. This is also not sponsored and completely out of the blue, but let's see what we got here. All right. We received some Mortal Kombat G Fuel. from G Fuel from Gamma Labs. So yeah, so thank you, G Fuel, for sending this over to us. As you know, kind of a giveaway, we are going to go ahead and send out this Mortal Kombat 11 G Fuel shaker bottle with some Raiden G Fuel to whoever wins. Nice. We'll be posting details for the contest probably in our show notes on realmkast.com. So be sure to go have a look and win yourself some G Fuel. And
as well as another Raiden sort of merch as well. I like how we're keeping the Raiden theme.
I know this needs to be like the electric stream or something now. So G Fuel's not sponsoring this episode. This is just a free gift for you guys because, as we said, we like you and we appreciate everybody tuning in. So,
well, thank you to G Fuel as well. I mean, we're not sponsored by them, but they were kind enough to send this in to us. That's really nice of them. We just figured that we'd, give something to you guys too. So here's our next giveaway.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
let's
post details.
My wife was kind enough to hand me something. I wanted to show you guys this. I didn't get it before the show.
Oh.
This is the first proof copy of Long Live Mortal Kombat. If you want to look at just how big of a boy this is.
It's like an encyclopedia.
This is the paperback. Yeah. The citation section is like 45 pages. So it's encyclopedic in its way, but it has a page count, I don't even know, 596, but I think we played with the font a little bit and formatting. So it'd be about 630 pages. And this is just Mortal Kombat 1 through 4 and related stories in here. So
I'm glad it has 4 in it.
Yeah. And the cover just looks so good.
Oh, I appreciate that. And this isn't even, there will be an ultimate edition with a ton of concept artwork, pictures of collections submitted by fans such as MK Jasper, and a lot of other stuff I haven't even announced yet. So that'll be coming soon as well.
Awesome.
Oh, awesome.
All right. So, David.
Jinx.
Jinx, you owe me a G Fuel. Pass me around.
Great. I think Yanni's jealous that one of our viewers is going to get that G Fuel shaker.
For the record, guys, that one was actually for me.
Yeah, that's Yanni's.
I'm too far away at the moment, so we figured we'll host a giveaway. But thank you to G Fuel anyway. And I hope one of you lands the G Fuel yourselves instead. It looks really cool, in my opinion. And FANTim's very happy with his.
So, David, thank you again for returning to the Realm Kast for our first ever Soul stream. It's been great chatting with you today, and we're looking forward to getting these physical copies of Long Live Mortal Kombat Round 1.
Oh, you're welcome, guys. It was it's always fun, but it was truly an honor to be invited for this inaugural episode. Thank you for letting me be your guinea pig. In all seriousness, this is a lot of fun. And you also got Smoke 412. I think he speaks to everyone. Kane B echoed it as well. He loved the stream. They love the stream, so looking forward to more. So great job, guys.
Thank you, David, and thank you, everybody. And just in case, I know that during outros, people tend to jump off. We got an announcement for you, so hold on just sit tight for a couple more minutes. Might be announcing our next Realm Kast guest.
Ooh,
So, to everybody, thank you really for joining us. It's actually been so much fun doing this live show. Thank you, David, of course, and thank you to the listeners. Thank you for interacting with us. I know that many of you, during the premieres, we interact with you for the Realm Kast premieres, and we just type in response, where it's pre-recorded and everything. And many of you have been asking to be able to actually interact with us and the guest in real time like this, as we're doing right now. And it's actually been so much fun. I feel like we should just do the Realm Kast like this, but we will continue doing the Realm Kast in the format we've been doing, but we will continue with Soul streams. So the idea is we're going to have a Soul stream, we're going to have a Realm Kast, we're going to have a Soul stream, we're going to have a Realm Kast, repeat. So if you enjoyed this, we really look forward to seeing you next time. And let us know in the comments and such, wherever it is, whichever platform you are, if it be Facebook, if it be on Twitter. Let us know what you think of the topics today. How do you feel about Mortal Kombat's 30th anniversary? Do you feel we're actually going to get something? Are we potentially completely off with our guesses? Are you excited for Legends Snowblind? Because I know that prior to the episode with Jeremy Adams, I know that many people had had the reservations basically on Snowblind, and I know that Jeremy's comments actually did switch a lot of people's minds on it. And I totally get the reservations after the final 15 minutes of Battle of the Realms, but that was actually explained on the episode with Jeremy. So I think that many of us have something really nice to look forward to with Snowblind coming out, especially with No Face and Tremor. But more importantly, for this episode specifically, have you read your digital copy of Long Live Mortal Kombat yet? Have you started it? Are you waiting for your physical copy to arrive? Let us know in the comments. Our next episode of the Realm Kast will air on the 29th of September. And we will take this moment to announce our next guest. Voice actor Jameson Price, whom you may or may not know, has been behind the announcer voice for Mortal Kombat 9, I'm pretty sure X, and 11, if I remember correctly. He's been both Noob Saibot in MK9, which I know many people loved his voice in MK9, and Ermac in MKX, as well as voices behind many other characters in various games and shows, anime, etc., etc. So this is actually a really fun episode up and coming. Jameson was a blast to record with. He was a great guy, a lot of fun. And yeah, hope to see you all then. FANTiM?
He also wrote sorry to jump in, he also wrote a really nice endorsement for Long Live Mortal Kombat.
Oh, so awesome.
It's a lot of fun. So I hope everybody comes back and joins us for that, because yeah, Jameson is hilarious and it's a great episode. So don't forget also Mortal Kombat Online's other programs. There's Fan Fight Friday, which is 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and Survival Saturdays, which is 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. There's more content too. If you want to find out everything, go to mortalkombatonline.com and click on the cast button, and you'll see all the various shows that Mortal Kombat Online has for you guys.
Yeah. So thank you all for joining us for our first ever Soul Stream. Thank you, David, for being our first ever guest on the Soul Stream. Be sure to check out our most recent episode, as we mentioned, with the writer for Snowblind, Jeremy Adams. We discussed Snowblind, Battle of the Realms, and actually followed up on our discussion with him on Scorpion's Revenge from our first interview with him. He's a great guy, such a genuine guy, and I can tell you, I feel the passion from him for Mortal Kombat. I'm extremely excited to see what comes with Snowblind, and hopefully more animated movies in the future.
Be sure also to go back and check out David's Craddock's episode with the Realm Kast. It's in our playlist on all of our various platforms. Go to realmkast.com. You'll see it there. And you'll hear a lot more stories about the book, more spoilers, and, get you even more excited if you weren't excited after this episode. So thank you, everybody. You can find Yani and myself, FANTiM, on the Mortal Kombat group on Facebook, as well as Yani on the Mortal Kombat meme realm, which is also on Instagram now.
And you can also join our official Discord channel hosted on Mortal Kombat Online server through the link in the description, which we will be adding, where we discuss Mortal Kombat along with our listeners.
And a special thanks to Uppercut Editions for their continued support. The Realm Kast is the official podcast for MortalKombatOnline.com.
And you can catch up on all episodes of the Realm Kast on realmkast.com, where you can also find our calendar for all of our upcoming content. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, David.